You never left Grandma's house hungry or without a smile. Her recipes were love on a plate, from cornflake butter cookies to casseroles. But Grandma's apple pie stands above the rest. Stay with us to discover the dish that defined her cooking. Grandma's cornflake butter cookies. If you've ever tasted Grandma's cornflake butter cookies, you know they're more than just a treat, they're a memory. These cookies were a staple in the 1950s, known for their crispy texture and rich peanut butter flavor. The simplicity of the recipe is what made them a household favorite, using ingredients everyone had on hand: cornflakes, peanut butter, sugar, and butter. Imagine coming home from school to the smell of these golden cookies cooling on the counter. The crispy cornflakes mixed with creamy peanut butter created a perfect balance that kept you reaching for more. These cookies weren't just popular because they were delicious. They were also quick to make, perfect for unexpected guests or a last-minute snack. Passed down through generations, they've remained a beloved part of many family traditions, making every bite a sweet trip down memory lane. Grandma's ground beef casserole. Comfort food at its finest, Grandma's ground beef casserole was more than just a meal. It was the centerpiece of countless family dinners. This hearty dish combined ground beef, vegetables, and a crispy topping of cheese or breadcrumbs, creating a satisfying, flavorful experience with every bite. Originating in the 1950s, when casseroles became popular as a budget-friendly way to feed a crowd, Grandma's version stood out for its rich taste and comforting texture. The casserole was often prepared on busy weeknights, making it a go-to dish for families. Kids loved it, especially when Grandma would go light on the veggies, sneaking in just enough to keep it nutritious. The smell of this casserole baking in the oven brought the family together, filling the kitchen with warmth and anticipation. Though it's not as common today, this dish remains a nostalgic reminder of simpler times. But here's the real question. Could anything ever truly replace the comfort of Grandma's ground beef casserole? Grandma's blueberry pie. Blueberry pie might be common now, but did you know Grandma's version was the original showstopper at summer gatherings? Grandma's blueberry pie wasn't just a dessert, it was a celebration of summer. With its flaky, buttery crust and a filling bursting with fresh, plump blueberries, this pie was the highlight of any family event. Originating from colonial America, where blueberries were abundant, this pie became a staple at summer picnics and holiday tables. Each bite was like tasting the essence of summer, with the sweet and tart blueberries perfectly balanced by the rich crust. Grandma had a secret to making her pie unforgettable. She always used blueberries picked at the peak of ripeness, ensuring the filling was juicy and flavorful. This pie wasn't just for summer, it was enjoyed year-round, often made with blueberries Grandma had frozen during the season. But speaking of unique recipes, have you ever wondered how Grandma's egg yolk cookies became such a surprising favorite? Egg yolk cookies. Egg yolk cookies might not be as famous as chocolate chip or sugar cookies, but they hold a special place in Grandma's kitchen. These delicate, buttery cookies were often made when there were leftover egg yolks from other recipes, turning what could have been waste into a delicious treat. Light and melt in your mouth, these cookies were unique for their texture and subtly sweet flavor. Grandma's egg yolk cookies were a testament to her resourcefulness, ensuring nothing went to waste in her kitchen. These cookies might have been overlooked at times, often the last ones left in the cookie tin, but those who appreciated them knew they were a hidden gem. The story goes that these cookies were born out of necessity, a sweet accident that turned into a family favorite. Today, they serve as a reminder of Grandma's ability to create something wonderful out of the simplest ingredients. But could these humble cookies have been the most underrated treat in Grandma's kitchen? Grandma's Shoefly pie. Have you ever tasted a pie so rich and unique that it could transport you back in time? Grandma's Shoefly pie was a Pennsylvania Dutch classic that brought a true taste of Americana to the table. Known for its sticky molasses, filling, and crumbly topping, this pie was both comforting and distinctive. The name Shoefly comes from the need to shoo away flies drawn to the sweet molasses as it cooled. Dating back to the 19th century, this pie was a staple in Grandma's kitchen, gracing family picnics and holiday dinners. The molasses filling was the star, delivering a deep, rich flavor that was both sweet and slightly tangy. Often enjoyed with a cup of coffee, Grandma's Shoefly pie is a timeless treat that continues to evoke cherished memories. But speaking of unexpected ingredients, have you ever wondered how sour cream became the secret to Great-Grandma's most surprising cookie recipe? Great-Grandma's sour cream drop cookies. Great-grandma's sour cream drop cookies were a delightful surprise. A cookie that didn't rely on the usual suspects like chocolate or nuts, but instead featured the tangy richness of sour cream. These cookies were soft, tender, and slightly tangy, a perfect balance of flavors that kept everyone coming back for more. Drop cookies, as they're called, are made from a dough so soft that it's dropped onto the baking sheet from a spoon, creating perfectly imperfect shapes that bake up beautifully. In the early 20th century, sour cream was a popular ingredient in baking, adding moisture and a subtle tang to various desserts. Grandma's version often had a sprinkle of powdered sugar or a sweet glaze to balance the tanginess, making them a hit at every family gathering. These cookies are a testament to the idea that sometimes the most unexpected ingredients can create the most memorable treats. But who would have thought that sour cream could make such an unforgettable cookie? Grandma's baking powder biscuits. If there's one smell that could bring anyone into the kitchen, it would be Grandma's baking powder biscuits, fresh out of the oven. Remember? These fluffy, buttery biscuits were legendary, disappearing from the table almost as quickly as they were served. The magic behind them was simple: baking powder and buttermilk. The baking powder created air pockets in the dough, making the biscuits rise beautifully, while the buttermilk added a subtle tang that made them irresistible. Grandma's recipe likely dates back to the late 19th century, when baking powder became widely available, revolutionizing home baking. These biscuits were often served with homemade jam straight from Grandma's pantry, adding a sweet touch to the buttery, tender bread. Whether served alongside a hearty meal or enjoyed on their own, Grandma's baking powder biscuits were more than just bread. They were a tradition. But speaking of unique recipes, have you ever tried Grandma's cherry salad? Trust me, it's not what you'd expect. Grandma's cherry salad. Grandma's cherry salad was a dish that brought excitement to the table, especially for the kids. This wasn't your typical salad. It was a creamy, sweet concoction that blurred the lines between side dish and dessert. Made with canned cherries, marshmallows, and a fluffy dressing, this salad was a hit at potlucks and family gatherings, particularly in regions where cherry orchards were abundant. The sweet and tangy cherries combined with the soft, chewy marshmallows created a texture and flavor combination that was simply delightful. This dish was particularly popular in the mid-20th century, during a time when adding fruit to salads was all the rage. Grandma's version was always a crowd pleaser, and it often disappeared quickly from the table, leaving everyone with sweet memories of childhood. Though it's less common today, those who grew up with it remember it fondly. But who would have thought that a salad could be so sweet and irresistible? Grandma's sweet Hubbard squash custard pie. Did you know that pumpkin pie wasn't always the go-to dessert for fall? In our family, Grandma's sweet Hubbard squash custard pie was the true star of the season. With its sweet and nutty flavor, Hubbard squash provided the perfect base for this creamy, spiced custard pie. Unlike the more common pumpkin, Hubbard squash brought a unique depth of flavor that made this pie stand out at holiday dinners. The recipe likely originated in early American kitchens, where Hubbard squash was favored for its versatility and long shelf life. Grandma's pie was a seasonal delight, often gracing the table during Thanksgiving or Christmas, always made from scratch with freshly harvested squash. The creamy, perfectly spiced custard filling created a dessert that was both comforting and satisfying. Today, this pie remains a cherished family recipe, a testament to Grandma's culinary creativity. But speaking of unforgettable family favorites, have you ever experienced the rich, savory goodness of Grandma Mayo's spaghetti sauce? You'll want to stick around for this one. Grandma Mayo's spaghetti sauce. Spaghetti night was always special in our household thanks to Grandma Mayo's spaghetti sauce. This rich, savory sauce was the result of hours of slow simmering, allowing the flavors of ripe tomatoes, garlic, and a blend of herbs to meld together into a perfect harmony. This sauce was more than just a topping for pasta. It was the centerpiece of many family dinners, bringing everyone together around the table. The recipe, passed down through generations, was a closely guarded family secret, with each generation adding their own twist. Grandma Mayo's version was particularly beloved for its depth of flavor and the love that went into making it. Even today, store-bought sauces can't compare to the homemade goodness of this classic recipe. For those who remember, every bite of spaghetti with Grandma's sauce is a taste of home, love, and tradition. But can anything really compare to the warmth of a meal made with Grandma's love? Old-fashioned apple pie. Nothing says comfort like a slice of Grandma's old-fashioned apple pie. When was the last time you had a piece of apple pie? This iconic dessert has become synonymous with American tradition, a staple at family gatherings, with its golden lattice crust and a filling made from apples picked at the peak of ripeness. The blend of sweet and tart apples, spiced with cinnamon and nutmeg, created a flavor that was both comforting and familiar. The origins of apple pie in America date back to the early settlers, who brought the tradition of pie making with them. Grandma's version was always made with a little extra love, from the careful selection of apples to the hand-crimped edges of the crust. Served warm, often with a scoop of vanilla ice cream, this pie was more than just a dessert. It was a taste of home. But if you think apple pie was special, wait until you hear about Grandma's Hungarian nut rolls, an old-world pastry that's sure to surprise you. Grandma's Hungarian nut rolls. Grandma's Hungarian nut rolls were more than just a pastry. They were a connection to our Eastern European heritage. These delicious rolls, filled with a sweet walnut mixture and rolled into a spiral shape, were a staple at special occasions and holidays. The origins of this recipe date back to Eastern European baking traditions, where nut rolls were often made for celebrations. The dough was tender and slightly sweet, perfectly complementing the rich, nutty filling. Grandma's version was always highly anticipated, and the rolls would disappear quickly from the table, leaving only crumbs behind. Legend has it that this recipe was actually a happy accident, born from a mix-up with ingredients meant for cinnamon rolls. Whatever the origin, these nut rolls have become a cherished part of our family's culinary history, a delicious reminder of Grandma's skill and creativity in the kitchen. But could any modern pastry really match the nostalgic flavor of Grandma's Hungarian nut rolls? Grandma's date nut bread. Have you ever tasted a bread that was both nutritious and indulgent? That's exactly what Grandma's date nut bread was. A perfect treat for breakfast, a snack, or even dessert. This moist and flavorful bread was packed with chopped dates and crunchy nuts, offering a delicious way to sneak in some extra nutrients. The natural sweetness of the dates paired with the richness of the nuts created a satisfying, hearty loaf that was as comforting as it was nourishing. Often served with a smear of butter or cream cheese, this bread's indulgent appeal was hard to resist. The recipe for date nut bread has been passed down through generations, with each family adding their own twist. While it might not be as commonly made today, those who grew up with it remember it fondly as a staple in Grandma's kitchen. But speaking of comforting desserts, have you ever tried Meemaw's milk pudding? It's a simple yet unforgettable treat. Meemaw's milk pudding. Meemaw's milk pudding was a simple yet beloved dessert in our family, a sweet reminder that sometimes the simplest recipes are the best. Made with just a few ingredients, milk, sugar, and a touch of vanilla, this pudding was a staple in many southern kitchens. The creamy, smooth texture and the light sweetness made it the perfect way to end a meal. This dessert has its roots in early American cuisine, where it was often made as a way to use up surplus milk. Meemaw's version was always a hit, especially when she added a sprinkle of nutmeg or a dollop of whipped cream on top. This pudding was often compared to the more modern rice pudding, but its simplicity and old-fashioned charm set it apart. For those who remember it, Meemaw's milk pudding is more than just a dessert. It's a taste of nostalgia, a comforting reminder of family dinners and simpler times. But could anything ever truly capture the essence of those simpler times, like Meemaw's milk pudding? Great Grandma's peach cobbler. If there was one dessert that could rival apple pie, it was Great Grandma's peach cobbler. This southern comfort dessert was the ultimate showcase of summer's bounty. With its sweet, juicy peach filling and buttery, biscuit-like crust, this cobbler was a family favorite that brought everyone to the table. The origins of peach cobbler lie in the American South, where fresh peaches are abundant during the summer months. Great Grandma's version was cherished for its perfect balance of sweet and tart flavors, with the cobbler topping baked to golden brown perfection. Often served warm, with a scoop of vanilla ice cream melting into the peaches, this dessert was a heavenly combination of flavors and textures. Peach cobbler was a staple at summer gatherings and holiday dinners, a dessert that was as comforting as it was delicious. But if you think peach cobbler was special, wait until you hear about Grandma McAndrew's Irish soda bread, a bread with a story as rich as its flavor. Grandma McAndrew's Irish soda bread. Grandma McAndrew's Irish soda bread was a humble yet delicious staple in our family, a bread that could be whipped up in no time but tasted like it had been carefully crafted over hours. made with just flour, baking soda, buttermilk, and salt. This bread was both simple and satisfying, perfect for sopping up stews or enjoying with a pat of butter. The origins of Irish soda bread date back to Ireland, where baking soda was used as a leavening agent instead of yeast, making the bread quick and easy to prepare. Grandma's version was known for its slightly tangy flavor and crusty exterior, with the traditional cross on top, not just a decoration but a symbol of the Christian cross, adding a touch of heritage to this everyday bread. Whether served at dinner or as a snack, Grandma McAndrew's Irish soda bread was a comforting, reliable presence in our kitchen. But could any modern bread truly capture the essence of this timeless classic? Grandma's caramel popcorn balls. Remember when a simple snack could bring everyone together? Before the days of movie theater popcorn, Grandma's caramel popcorn balls were the ultimate treat, a sweet and sticky snack perfect for any occasion. Made with freshly popped popcorn coated in a rich caramel sauce, these popcorn balls were as fun to make as they were to eat. Popular in the mid-20th century, a time when caramel popcorn was a beloved snack for both kids and adults, Grandma's version took it up a notch by shaping the caramel-coated popcorn into balls, sometimes rolling them in nuts or sprinkles for an extra touch. These treats were a hit at holiday parties, movie nights, or as a special after-school snack. The best part was breaking them apart and sharing them with family and friends, creating memories that lasted long after the popcorn was gone. But if you think these were comforting, just wait until you hear about Grandma's classic meatloaf, a dish that truly defined comfort food. Grandma's classic meatloaf. Grandma's classic meatloaf was more than just a meal. It was a tradition, a dish that brought comfort and warmth to the dinner table. Made with ground beef, onions, breadcrumbs, and a savory blend of seasonings, this meatloaf was known for its moist, tender texture and flavorful crust. Meatloaf has been a staple of American cuisine since the early 20th century, offering a budget-friendly way to feed a family. Grandma's version was particularly loved for its perfect balance of flavors, often served with mashed potatoes and vegetables on the side. The recipe was a labor of love, with each ingredient carefully measured and mixed, ensuring that the meatloaf turned out just right every time. Whether it was a weeknight dinner or a Sunday family gathering, Grandma's classic meatloaf was always a welcome sight at the table, a comforting reminder of home-cooked meals and family traditions. But could anything ever truly replace the comforting embrace of Grandma's meatloaf? Granny's spice cookies. Granny's spice cookies were a holiday staple, filling the house with the warm, aromatic scents of cinnamon, nutmeg, and cloves. These cookies were a favorite during the colder months, offering a perfect blend of sweetness and spice that paired beautifully with a cup of hot tea or cocoa. The tradition of spice cookies dates back to medieval Europe, where spices were used to enhance baked goods, making them a luxury item. Granny's version was simple yet rich in flavor, with each bite offering a taste of the season. These cookies were often decorated with a sprinkle of sugar or a drizzle of icing, adding a festive touch to the holiday table. While they might not be as common in bakeries today, baking these spice cookies at home is a perfect way to bring a touch of nostalgia and warmth to the season. Granny's spice cookies were a holiday favorite, filling the house with the scent of cinnamon, nutmeg, and cloves. Was this your favorite too? Old-fashioned peanut brittle. Old-fashioned peanut brittle was Grandma's go-to candy recipe, a crunchy, sweet treat that required patience and precision to perfect. This classic candy was made by boiling sugar and corn syrup until it reached the perfect crack stage, then mixing in roasted peanuts to create a crisp, brittle texture that was both satisfying and addictive. Peanut brittle has been a holiday favorite for generations, often given as a homemade gift or shared at family gatherings. Grandma's version was particularly loved for its generous amount of peanuts, adding a satisfying crunch to each bite. Making peanut brittle was an art, with the timing of the sugar syrup crucial to achieving the right consistency. The result was a candy that was both simple and elegant, a testament to Grandma's skill in the kitchen. Even today, peanut brittle remains a beloved treat, a nostalgic reminder of the care and love that went into homemade candy. But have you ever tasted anything as perfectly crunchy and sweet as Grandma's old-fashioned peanut brittle? Grandma's chicken and dumplings. Have you ever craved a dish that feels like a warm hug from the inside out? That's exactly what Grandma's chicken and dumplings provided. This hearty, soul-soothing meal was a staple at family dinners, especially on chilly evenings. The chicken, slow-cooked to tender perfection, swam in a rich, savory broth, while the dumplings, soft, fluffy pillows of dough, absorbed all that comforting goodness. Each bite was like wrapping yourself in a cozy blanket. The best part? Grandma had a secret ingredient in the dumplings that made them uniquely hers, something that kept everyone coming back for seconds. As the family gathered around the table, sharing stories and laughter, this dish was always the star. But speaking of comfort food, do you remember the smell of something sweet wafting through the house on Sunday mornings? Let's dive into the next dish that made weekends extra special: Grandma's buttermilk pancakes. What could be better than starting your Sunday morning with a stack of Grandma's buttermilk pancakes? Light, fluffy, and with just a hint of tang from the buttermilk, these pancakes were the ultimate morning treat. Whether served with a pat of butter melting down the sides or drenched in warm maple syrup, they were a breakfast delight that could turn any morning into a special occasion. Grandma knew that simplicity was key, and with a few basic ingredients, she created a recipe that has stood the test of time. These pancakes were more than just food. They were a ritual, a way to bring the family together before the day began. As you savor the memory of these delicious pancakes, you can't help but wonder, what's the perfect dish to pair with a cozy family dinner? Grandma's macaroni and cheese. What's the ultimate comfort food that never fails to bring a smile to your face? For many, it's Grandma's macaroni and cheese. This creamy, cheesy masterpiece was a beloved side dish that often stole the spotlight at family gatherings. Made with a mix of cheeses and topped with a crispy breadcrumb crust, it was baked to golden perfection. Each bite delivered that perfect combination of gooey, melty cheese and the satisfying crunch of the topping. This dish was more than just a crowd pleaser. It was a symbol of home, warmth, and care. Whether served alongside a holiday feast or as a simple weeknight dinner, it always hit the spot. But as we savor this cheesy delight, it begs the question, what was Grandma's go-to dessert when she wanted to impress everyone? Stick around, because the next dish is a citrusy classic that will make your mouth water. Grandma's lemon meringue pie. Grandma's lemon meringue pie was exactly that. This dessert was a showstopper, featuring a tart lemon filling that contrasted perfectly with a cloud-like meringue topping. The meringue, toasted to a light golden brown, provided a sweet, airy finish that balanced the zesty lemon custard beneath it. With each bite, you'd get a burst of citrus flavor followed by the delicate sweetness of the meringue. This pie wasn't just a treat, it was a tradition, often made for special occasions and always the first to disappear from the dessert table. As you savor the memory of this iconic pie, another question comes to mind. What was the heartiest meal Grandma made to warm us up on cold days? Grandma's beef stew. What's better than coming home to the smell of a rich, hearty stew simmering on the stove? That's exactly what you'd experience with Grandma's beef stew. This dish was the epitome of comfort, made with tender chunks of beef, root vegetables, and a savory broth that had been simmered for hours. The stew was a staple during the colder months, warming you from the inside out with each spoonful. Grandma had a way of making even the simplest ingredients taste extraordinary, and her beef stew was no exception. Every bowl was filled with the essence of home and love, making it the perfect meal to gather around the table and share. But speaking of sharing, do you remember the sweet treats Grandma would bake during the holidays? Did these Grandma recipes stir up memories? These dishes are more than food, they're tradition. If you enjoyed this, like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more nostalgic culinary journeys. Happy cooking!